There was always this memory when I was a teenager and I saw this FJ60 Land Cruiser, and I didn't know anything about them back then at all. And I just saw it, and it always stayed in my head as like, that's the coolest truck ever. I just love that thing. The Land Cruiser was kind of my real, I guess my first actual enthusiast vehicle. And from there, kind of an addiction grew. The real intention behind it is to do, more family trips and, kind of back roads exploring. With a family, we're probably not looking at month or 2 month, expedition or anything like that. But, a week-long trip or something like that, most definitely. It's my 5th Land Cruiser. The 60 series has always been my favorite of the Land Cruisers. I did have a 100 series Lexus for a little while. This was just sort of the pinnacle of, Land Cruiser ownership to me.
Because you never know when you'll need Land Cruiser turbo power.
The first time I ever saw this truck was on YouTube. I would say at least a dozen years ago. And there was this video of an FJ60 driving up Hell's Revenge in Moab.
I'll put it all up.
I remember watching and say, that truck is awesome. I want my truck to be like that truck one day. And what's crazy is that is the same exact truck, actually, that was in the YouTube video. So it looks a lot different than back then, but the paint and everything's all different, and there's a lot of different bar work and different wheels and some other stuff. It's the exact same truck, which is pretty hilarious. I don't think there's anything that hasn't been touched on it. It's got a Dana 60 axle in the front with a 14 bolt in the back, ARB lockers front and back. They're older Champion bead locks, and the tires are Yokohama Geolandar XMTs, 40 by 13.5, 17. It's got a Ramjet 350 engine in it, and that's in front of a NV 4500 5-speed transmission. Atlas 2 transfer case. There's no Toyota left in the driveline department. Maybe the brake booster. I think that's about it. All the bar work, I think the base bumper for the rear was from the original build from Profits Cruisers, but I think the rest of it's all mostly custom built by the previous owner up in Canada. It's got a high steer setup and sprung over. You were behind me, you probably saw it bouncing all over the place. I was like, I gotta change these out. It's terrible on the trail right now. I need to upgrade my onboard air, either some sort of power tank or power tank-like setup, or I'll swap the ARB compressor out for a twin compressor and a roof rack system with an awning. And that's really the kind of the short list right now, because otherwise I just think it's kind of the perfect truck, at least for me. This was a big change because it's the first time I went with something that did not have a Toyota engine in it. If I actually add to the future mod list, it does need an extended range fuel tank. It's probably the only downside to this truck, is that the fuel mileage is terrible. I've always liked the interior. It's very clean. I like some of the old dashboards without all the screens and all that stuff. I've got some nice seat covers on it, and a couple little things here and there, some gauges and stuff, but very stock on the inside. Universal to every single year Land Cruiser ever made, rust is the number one thing you want to buy the truck with the least amount of rust. That is the number one thing, and you really want to look underneath. So, and that includes the new ones. It's also probably the number one drive for value as far as what they're worth. And then otherwise, I really think it just depends what you're looking for. You're not usually going to get like perfect service records or perfect, they're old. But, you do want to find someone who maintained it and took good care of it, runs well, et cetera, et cetera. Coming up, we're going to go out to West Virginia in about 3 weeks and do a little camping, do a little exploring, hit some forest roads and stuff like that for kind of a long weekend. And, that would be kind of the first thing for this year. And at some point, we're going to try and go probably down to like Tennessee or Kentucky, or kind of get down there in the mountains a little bit more. Sometimes I think like having this truck kind of, helps me always remember that I need to go and separate myself from work. And so this is always kind of a reminder that, get out there, have some fun, and go where there's no cell phone signal.